In this episode of the Week in Italian Startup, Nicolò and I will discuss about the latest crypto exchange Raise young platform, a Turin-based crypto exchange which is changing the way young people invest in crypto. Then we're going to move to machine learning deals such as Datrix and 6 Sense, and then we're going to close with some other consideration about the latest IPOs in Italy. Welcome everybody to the Week in Italian Startup, where me and Nico, we go through the weekly big news in Italian tech. So we're going live here in Clubhouse, but we also record a session, and then we are available on Spotify, and we will be available on YouTube as well pretty soon. So without further ado, I would definitely start to have a general sort of introduction of what is happening, because this last week it was very interesting. We saw news in crypto, we saw news in big data, a couple of IPOs. So let's get started maybe with the crypto deal that went out. And I thought it was extremely interesting. It's a company from Turin. It's very close to where I live. And it's a very interesting perspective on how exactly they approach the crypto space. So Nico, if you wanna tell something more about the young platform, then we can start from there.
Yep, sure. Let me start by a couple of corrections from last week. And this is the proof that we are really go live right now. So I said two things last week. The first one is about the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. It is actually part of Euronext, and it was part of it. And the second misstatement is about Entity Data. It is actually a sister company to Entity.com, and they opened up in Italy by acquiring Veggie 10 years ago. So just wanted to get the information
awesome.
Right.
Thank you. No, that's good. That's awesome. Thank you, Nico.
Okay, now onwards to the news of the week. The one is about young platform. We are in blockchain and crypto. A good round, 3.5 million news from Young Better Ventures, who's actually one of the leading VC firms in Italy at the Series A, Series B stage. It is an interesting take to crypto exchange focused on very young users. So they see themselves as a sort of education platform to trading and handling cryptocurrencies. You see that the founders are extremely young.
Awesome, so that's great.
They probably just this thing. They probably the first users of this platform.
That's actually what actually attracted me, which is exactly the fact that the platform is very easy, is very intuitive. They're really pushing the educational play. It's not just a crypto exchange, but is a sort of a crypto exchange with an educational twist. So I thought it was extremely useful, especially for the younger generation, which are approaching crypto in general. So that's definitely a very, very strong angle, I feel.
Yep, agree.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on, I believe. Let's move on then to the two sort of AI and machine learning deals. One is Datrix and one is 6 Sense. So we can kind of use them as talk about them together. They both essentially work in the machine learning and the data analytics space. So let's maybe start with Datrix in general. Here, the corporate venture capital arm of Banca Generali essentially raised a round of 2.5 million. So that's also definitely something to keep an eye on when it comes to not only big data in Italy, but also corporate venture capital in Italy, which is something that is definitely moving.
Indeed. A Plus is one of the few corporate VCs active right now in Italy, and more of the start not so, but it has been quite active lately. Regarding Datrix as a startup, is not exactly a very young startup. I think it is probably more than 10 years old. But they raised money from it as well a few years back, probably last year actually in 2020. So this is proof that the company is probably picking up steam and growing with markets. So another interesting round, and I'd say another indicator of how actually we do have some interesting startups in the AI vertical. Probably still below the
interesting. What about Sixth Sense then? Like, can you tell us maybe more about what is the differentiators between these two companies, and how do you think about them?
Well, I don't know much about Sixth Sense, but both of them position themselves advanced analytically. Sixth Sense, I'm looking now. There's with and just probably providing recommendation and solutions. But I don't know much. I don't know much about their comparability. I'd say it is interesting that two different companies raise money doing something quite similar in the same week. Actually, we don't know how much Sixth Sense raised because the round was not explained. It was just announced. The investors are Gellify with Azimut Libera Impresa and i-RFK, which is another.
So I feel both in terms of bigger companies are trying to actually have a foot in the data space and in the machine learning space. So Generali is pretty much doing that, probably to handle in a better way the volume of data that a bank in general needs to handle. So that's a good way to diversify. In terms of the Sixth Sense investment from Gellify and Azimut, also that's definitely two strong players in the Italian ecosystem. So that's definitely a very good sort of indicator that big players are definitely keeping an eye and are willing to intervene in the big data space. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd say that for being modeled by Gellify, they have a strong push in supporting startups entering the market, going to the market, so opening connections with their customers, their good market.
Perfect, awesome. So let's move maybe to a more sort of a traditional business, Biomadre, which is basically they're working on Veggie Burger, if I'm not mistaken. So if you maybe just give an overview quickly on what is the deal, and then we can maybe talk about how exactly these kind of startup are raising money. They're more sort of traditional in a sense, but it's good because they have an interesting impact in more traditional businesses. So maybe let's start by an overview of the business.
Exactly my background in terms of vertical, but it is still interesting that companies such as Biomadre and 50,000 is not full amount. From impacting investors. And this is probably the most interesting part of the deal. There's probably a strong ability some kind of relation to society, to the environment, and all the
What do you think of impact investing? Yeah, I mean, I have an opinion about in general, like how Italy is unique in a sense, because there is a lot of impact investors that are really focused on these kind of deals, which is
definitely need more attention also at the international level, local, national, and international.
Yeah. Interesting. And again, it's good because actually they are contributors in a lot of like more brick and mortar businesses like bakery, Veggie Burger, more like sort of direct to consumer product, hardware, like less digital, more conventional, but definitely with a purpose. Definitely something that is worth also examining. So that's something really cool. So I don't know much then about the Tevel Aerobotics Technologies. So it's a Series B, about 20 million, which is participated also by the Club degli Investitori here in Turin. So what is the deal over here?
Well, me neither. I just found out about Tevel from the news actually.
Okay.
It is an Israeli startup, and if you take a look at what they're they are developing fruit pickers, actually flying drones to pick able to pick fruit, which is kind of interesting, I would say, if it can maintain the promise. I guess the deal is probably like interesting because Italian investors joined. And it happens sometimes, in particular, angel clubs such as Investitori or YAG. They sometimes complete or join investments in foreign companies. So it's a way to expand our knowledge and connections to other markets. So I see it extremely interesting.
And I also see like agritech deals becoming more and more popular, not only in terms of sort of like a circular economy deals, but also like hardware technology. So anything which is electrified for agriculture is also gaining like some traction. So that's definitely something. It's a nice trend that is happening as well, like these days, I believe.
I agree. Well, actually, think about it. In the last few years, a lot of agritech startups that were about tracking the analytics, so supporting decisions. And Tevel is an example of second hand. It's about automation, real automation. Very to see more, and things similar to this one in Italy as well.
I agree.
Very strong agriculture culture and with very specific type of produce.
Yeah, you have I agree. We have an interesting crossing of eradicated agricultural tradition and technology, which is becoming like a very quickly exponential. So it's a good match because then we'll see what will happen essentially. Awesome. So let's talk about the two.
Yeah, it is much more complicated than.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
For sure.
Much more complicated than just run a tractor on a flat field.
100%.
Think about
100%. 100%. Oh yeah.
Apples on the mountain.
So let's talk about the Flywallet deal. Also, this is like something pretty new in fintech. So basically, it's a very interesting concept in terms of authentication. Flywallet is essentially, and then correct me if I'm wrong, developing like a bracelet that essentially allow you to verify your identity in order to make like payments, so that actually there is an extra layer of protection. So it's pretty much biometrics. And I thought it was a good solution actually. Again, like biometric is something which people are working on and they're trying to nail it in some way or another. And having like a fancy bracelets like the Apple Watch might be like a good way to solve this problem.
I actually agree with you, particularly on the take about security and the problem of authentication and biometrics. This is an interesting solution. I'd say that that you need to add another
yeah.
Probably still not ideal from my point of view, but still, I will not be too loaded with hardware. We've got the smartphone, we've got the smartwatch.
It's too much jewelry. At the end of the day, it's gonna be too much jewelry.
It's probably, but still, who am I to judge? At the end, it is a matter of balancing between your need for security.
Exactly.
Your business
yeah.
Keep it safe. And
definitely. I mean, the blocking point probably is gonna be the classical like two-way authentication and whatever like smartphone are gonna evolve to, because that can easily wipe out like this kind of like hardware, I believe. So if there is enough powerful smartphone that can like kind of secure identity and payment credentials, that's going to be an issue for sure. But it's interesting to see how the solution can be seen from a different perspective. Very interesting. Very, very cool.
I agree. All the best to them.
So what about the two liquidity events? We had two IPOs essentially, like not too big, I believe, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. So one is MeglioQuesto and then Spindox. So if you can tell us more about the two different deals, that's definitely been cool.
Yeah, I was actually looking on the website to see whether I can find information about the stock. And then I was saying meanwhile that the other company Spindox is considering listing always on the AIM.
Okay.
And Spindox is it's more like a digital innovation company, so basically consulting, let's say so, hopefully without downgrading anybody. Next they're raising 8 million with enterprise value up to 50 million euros. So later this
I feel though that this small IPO is more for sort of like pushing the company forward for maybe like 18 to 24 months, because it's definitely one way to sort of gain liquidity. But my feel is that it's not this kind of like a big scaling event that can actually like a rocket sort of push it like a rocket ship. I don't know what is your take on this? It's kind of on the small side. Volumes is not too high, so I don't know. This is just a quick thought on this.
No, I do agree. So some companies use the AIM as a gym. So because basically you can list your company there. It's easier to manage.
I see.
Than the main stock exchange. It's true that it's a thinner market, so liquidity is lower. But still, you might see it as a as a gym for later IPOs or smaller. It's a good market for smaller companies. They can go public. They can raise money to support development without having the plan to skyrocket, as you said. As might be the case of Spindox or MeglioQuesto.
All right, let's conclude with the sweet news, which is the Elon Musk news coming to Turin, to the Italian Tech Week. That's kind of funny.
There was I don't know about you, but there was a moment last week where everybody from all the channels I was in was actually messaging, tweeting, calling, texting. Elon Musk is coming to Italy. Physically.
That's a good detail. That's a very important detail. But I noticed that the event will be co-hosted by John Elkann. So what can we deduce from this move. That's probably like one way to have two big players in the automotive space sort of communicate, and maybe will they announce something? Will they arrange something? Okay. All right. So I think we can, unless you have anything else to add, I will definitely conclude. So thank you, Nico, very much for the session. And I'll see everybody next week on Monday, same hour, 6:30 European time, Italy time, and then we'll go through the next news coming up. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the crowd, and thank you so much, Nico.
Thank you, Giacomo. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you, everybody.
Always.